Hi, my name is Sarah Hill. I'm 17 years old and I go to Hillsborough High School. I like to stay busy with cheerleading and then a lot of school activities. It's a combination of dancing and gymnastics, but then you also get the added twist of stunting, which is just fun to throw people in the air and catch them. We lift people, not weights, so it's a different creative version and I just enjoy that. I'm at the school from 8:30 in the morning for actual school time until 3:30. Then I have practice 4 to 6 during basketball season. In football season, I have it 4 to 8 because I'm a youth coach. I feel like I get really run down after a really busy amount of time, which most kids do, but with my poor immune system, it does take a toll. When I was younger, I never thought that my childhood was any different than anybody else's. I was always involved in a lot of sports like soccer and softball and basketball, but I started to notice that I bruised more often than a lot of the other kids.
All of a sudden she started bruising, and then she hit her head and had a big goose egg on her head. And
I never really thought about why she bruised excessively or anything like that. She was a little kid.
I remember talking to all the moms at the soccer games and the softball games, and all their kids had them too, so I didn't take it into account. She was a busy little girl, and no real illnesses to report. And then one spring in first grade, they had a field trip.
We had gone to Jackson Bottom Creek, and we were just exploring nature and looking at everything. And I remember that I kept feeling sick, and every time there was a bench and we would take a rest time, I would always have to go sit down. And then I remember the next morning before going to school, I was eating cereal for breakfast, and I just started crying because I didn't feel good.
And then the next thing I know, she's throwing up blood, and the sink is full of blood. And so we call the doctor, and Mark comes home, and we take her in, and
we find out she was just hanging by a thread, and from what turned out to be a very rare genetic disease.
Mid-July, I think, Dr. Olson comes back, and she says there was something more, and it was Fanconi's. And Fanconi's is just a whole nother kettle of fish. It is way more intense.
Fanconi's anemia is a genetic disorder that affects my blood. Specifically, it affects my chromosomes, white and red blood cells, platelets, and my bone marrow.
We're all set because it turns out her sister is a perfect match, 6 on 6, which is rare, even with a SIB.
I was automatically tested to see if I was a carrier, and somehow I'm not. And it was like it's a 25% chance that you'd not be a carrier, 25% chance you'd have it, and 50% chance you would be a carrier. She has it, I don't.
The Make-A-Wish people wanted us to take this trip before the bone marrow transplant.
And I remember Dr. Olson pushing the Make-A-Wish. You got to do this now, which scared the heck out of me, because Make-A-Wish meant that I thought that was for the terminal child, and I didn't want to do it. But we went to Disneyland and to Knott's Berry Farm and to the Knights of the Round Table. Sarah loved that.
We were taken in a limo to the airport, which was really fun because I had never gone in a limo before. We also went to medieval times, which was amazing because the Blue Knight who had won that day gave me a ribbon that said Queen of Love and Beauty, which I still have.
That was one of the fun parts of the trip, I think.
I didn't like it so much because there were no forks or spoons or anything. I would smuggle some in if I ever went back.
So it made me feel special, and I spent time with my family, so that was nice too.
And on the 28th, she got the bone marrow transplant. And I remember sitting in, Sarah had two bone marrow draws, and I sat in with them. And they go in, and the needle is about so long, and it's hollow. And they draw it up. Sarah's draws was just like a stick where Amy got harpooned.
They always said, you don't have to do this. It's an option, and it was never an option for me. It was my little sister.
The next minute they're bringing this bone marrow down the hall, and I didn't know exactly the procedure, but I still have this memory of where they basically hook it up to her IV, and she's eating a bowl of macaroni and cheese while I just couldn't believe it. I thought, can they do that? Can you do that? And she's eating the macaroni and cheese while this is being put into her body that's saving her life. So
we were basically at Dornbecker for 2 months, me and Sarah.
my wife Carol has MS and was so strong during this because she spent over 30 days at Dornbecker in the same room with Sara. I think the actual after the transplant, it was at least a year before her body started going back to normal. So that was a kind of a tough time.
If I was to experience it right now, I know that I'd be a lot more emotional and I would be scared, and I'm almost thankful that it was when it was, but I do realize now that it was a lot more serious than I thought it had been. I feel like it's made my sister mature a lot faster than she had to. She had to lose a lot of her childhood because with my mom also having a sickness herself, she had to take care of me more and kind of take a role as my mother almost. I feel like it makes my dad really nervous to lose his little girl, and I feel like it brings us closer a lot, but it also does have effects where it really can cause some issues, but for the most part, overall, it brings us together. There are people that have my disorder, and in certain cases, they have not lived to a very long, like they haven't had a long life expectancy, and sometimes that does make me nervous, and it does make me feel like there is no reason to try, but then I realize that it's not always for sure, and I might as well just do as much as I can.
We're kind of in uncharted territory because a lot of the kids that have this disorder don't make it as far as she has.
She thinks that it's all open to her. God, I hope that it would be.
She's always been strong-willed, but I think she takes things. She doesn't want to miss out on certain things because I think she knows she has more. Not too many kids go through something like that, so I think in some ways she grew up faster because of it.
She's relentless. She won't give up. And I think, she has to be a fighter, and so she takes everything to the max. It's all or nothing.
But she's got to be the one to beat the odds because she's so damn stubborn that she'll show them. She'll show us all. And I pray that that's what happens.
I really try to stay optimistic and happy with my life. To say my childhood and life was and is different because of Fanconis is true, but everyone's is different. This has just always been and will continue to be my normal.